We originated in the Arcturian star system as physical beings, just as you are physical beings there on Earth in your solar system, and you are climbing the ladder, so to speak. You are ascending into the fifth dimension, and you will eventually ascend even further and become non-physical consciousness as we are.
Hello, everybody. This is Awakened Minds Podcast. My name is Jimmy.
Hi, guys. I'm Natalie, and today we're going to be interviewing Daniel Scranton. He's going to be sharing with you his journey, how he became a channel, a little bit of backstory as to how it happened and how it's changed his life and many around him. So, guys, if you can stick around to the end, there is a channeled message for you, so do not miss out on that. But without further ado, I welcome you, Daniel.
Hello, nice to meet you both, and good to be here.
Yeah. It's nice to meet you, Daniel.
Yeah.
So, Daniel, let's just jump right into it. I would love if you can share with the guests watching what channeling is to you, and just give a brief description on how they can understand what it is that you do.
I think most of the time, the way that people channel is through what's automatic, like they're on autopilot for the most part. As we go through life, I watch my daughter, she's 4, and she picks things up and she repeats the things that we say, verbatim. She repeats lines from Frozen verbatim. She's repeating, but she's mimicking her older cousin, who's a girl, without even realizing it. That's what we do until we realize, like, oh, I don't have to just believe what my parents believed. I don't just have to give into the dogma of the religion I was brought up in, or what the government says, my teacher said in school, that sort of thing. And once we awaken to that, we realize, oh, I have been sort of just going with the flow of what the general consensus is, the mass consciousness, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And so what you do is, instead of being on that autopilot where you're just set to the frequency of everyone around you, like what happened with me was I woke up, I discovered channeling, I started really following channeling. I would follow Esther Hicks all around the world and her work, and I was listening to her constantly in my car, channeling Abraham. And
I love her.
So I never thought I was going to be a channeler myself. I really didn't. It wasn't that common of a thing back in 2010 when it started for me. But 13 years now. I'm celebrating my 13 years this month, actually.
Oh, congratulations!
So, yeah, thanks. I know it always seems long. Once I don't think about it until another year goes by. And so I was trained in Reiki a long time ago, because I woke up in like 1999. So I was trained in Reiki in like 2003. I started doing Reiki on a more regular basis around the beginning of 2010. And that's when all these rise off of the person and start moving like a windshield wiper over their body, not touching their body. And then this one would fall back down and this one would come up and do the same. And then I'm just watching it happen, like, oh, that's interesting. And then my head starts to go like this. And then when my lips started moving and I was making a whispering sound, I was going, I thought, oh my gosh, channeling. And that was the first time I thought, maybe this is something I will do.
Yeah.
So I continued doing the Reiki on as many people as I could.
Can I just pause you really quickly? And I feel
of course, jump in anytime. Jump in anytime.
Did you know that was channeling, when the head movements began and you were like, okay, I've got to follow this?
I mean, the definition of channeling changes as you do it. And now I see that anything where you're receiving energy is a channeling, because even if you're just lying there on the Reiki's table and receiving that Reiki energy, you're channeling because you're opening up to energy. Now, what happens is when you see someone doing it, they're not just channeling energy, but they have on a subconscious level figured out how or remembered how to transmit it, to give it a voice, whereas an artist would be doing it with their painting or their drawing. An actor would be doing it with the role that they're playing, a singer with what they're bringing through themselves vocally, and any musician. So there's different ways of channeling, of receiving energy and being in the zone and sort of letting something flow from you. But the way that I do it now, and others, that you've seen do it, is we vocalize it. And so then some people think that's what channeling is. Channeling is when you're speaking for another being. But I didn't know, and I do know now, that the channeling begins with the energy that's coming in.
Right.
Because you've opened up to it, you're receiving it, and now it's moving through you.
The messages that you're receiving first, you're talking about.
I'm talking about the energy first, and then the messages come later.
Right. It's interesting you say that. There's a question that pops into my mind just based on what you've said. So I've been obsessed. Jimmy knows, everyone who watches this knows I'm obsessed with channelers, right? Obsessed. Like, I just love it. I want to connect. I want to learn how to do this. And I've been learning. The interesting thing, though, I speak to dead people now.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I've been doing it for 2 weeks. I now do paid readings on TikTok. It's insane what's coming through.
Yeah,
but
really
it starts
impressive.
with energy, right? So
very impressive.
So what's the difference between channeling spirits, right, and what you channel? Because that just gave me an aha moment.
Well, it's like you can channel anything.
Yeah.
So you could channel a deceased loved one of yours or someone else's, or a tree, or Mother Earth, or the wind, or everything has consciousness. So you can channel anything. You can connect to and receive from anything. And most of us are doing it, like I said, all the time and not realizing that we are. We're affected by energy. We walk into a room, we're affected by that energy. So now that energy has come in and we have to deal with it.
Right.
But when someone who channels on purpose is deliberately setting the intention to do so, and they're setting their vibration to a higher frequency, so that then what they're channeling is coming from someone or something that's in a higher dimensional plane. So you're not just getting the news, and you're not just getting the facts of the world. You're getting something that goes beyond all of that, because it's coming from what Abraham would refer to as a broader perspective. It's a higher perspective where to see the big picture, you can see like, oh, I can see now why I got a flat tire here, and why this person broke up with me, and why I lost that job. I can see how all the pieces were coming together for me to move in this direction that was way better than the direction I was moving in.
I love that you said that, because I have a conversation about this with Jimmy all the time. We do our podcast, but we connect on a regular basis. And I've said to him, it's interesting. I've always been obsessed with near-death experiences, channelers, psychics, mediums, and we'd start interviewing them, right? And the more I would learn information, it's like spirit taps into your memory files or the memory banks of the information that's stored within you, right? So my next question would be, when you do channel these higher energy, higher vibrational beings, do they tap into memories that you have within your subconscious mind, or is it just information that, you didn't even really have? Like, did you have to sift through like dictionaries? Did you have to pick up information and experience before this happened to you?
I knew nothing when I started. I knew nothing of how it worked, how to do it. All I knew, so the continuation of the story goes like this. So that was January of 2010 is when it all started. March of 2010, I have a dark night of the soul moment. I'm feeling like I don't want to be here anymore. I just want to leave. I'm thinking about how I'm going to do it and all that stuff. And not that night, but the following night, I get visited. And I think I was being visited by Zetas. Bashar has said that to me, that they were Zetas. But it's really hard to get that information for yourself. It's really hard to channel
Hold on.
yourself.
Did you speak to Bashar and he told you who you were channeling? Is that how you learned?
What happened was the experience happened in March. By the time I asked Bashar about this experience, I had already started channeling, I think. Yeah, I remember it was around 2011 or 2012 or something, and I was at a Bashar workshop. I said, okay, this is
personally?
Yeah, at a workshop. Yeah, but I've had 3 private sessions with him too. So I've been to Daryl's house for private sessions. Yeah. And because I used to live in SoCal. Yeah.
Awesome.
But it was very cool. But yeah, he said that there's Zetas that I was visited by. But when it was happening, what I was receiving was all this energy. It felt completely like ecstasy. It was like all this love, all this just healing, all this energy. And I thought they were healing me. And then I just was begging for more. I just kept begging for more. I had my eyes closed the whole time.
I can feel it right now.
Yeah, it was coming
it's that
in through
energy,
the crown.
right? Yeah, it's like I call it it's like I'm doing the same thing as you without really even knowing it. It's like it like trickles, right? Of just energy vibration, like a current of energy that just charges through up and down, and it's ecstatic, right?
So looking back at it now, I would say I had already started channeling, but I needed an upgrade. Yeah. I still needed that upgrade that I got in the middle of the night to be able to channel fully, to be able to really embody all the energy that I was going to receive. And that took me another like 8 months to be able to speak for. But that pure ecstasy feeling that eventually led me to be like wondering, because I had a dream right before this happened. And in the dream, I'm just standing there in a desert. And I look at my friend Peter, who's into ETs, and I say, I understand now about the other beings. And that was it. That was the whole dream. But I start wondering about the dream while the thing is happening in my awake state. And I'm wondering, what does this have to do with that dream? What does this have to do with aliens? As soon as I thought the word aliens, the energy came shooting in like full force. And I just kept thinking the word aliens because I thought, well, if I'm going to get more of this, I'm just going to keep repeating it. But then eventually I started talking to them. I just started asking them questions. And if the answer was yes, they'd give me one of those full force of energies through my head, through my body. Right. And if it was no, I'd get nothing.
Wow.
So
that's
then
incredible.
That was my first real channeling experience, I guess, where there was some kind of like being that I was interacting with. Yeah. And then I finally thought, well, maybe I can see you if I open my eyes. So I opened my eyes and there was no one I could see in the room with me, but I could feel the energy starting up all over again at full force. Wow. And so I sat there or lied there for a little bit longer. And then I just realized, okay, this is available. So I want more of this. So I'm going to add this to my meditation now. Because my meditation practice was already solid. It was like 11 years straight meditator, like every day.
Wow.
But every day. And I was up to like an hour a day.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. So that's what happens when you meditate every day. Stuff like this happens. And yeah, I needed it though. I really needed to. Yeah. And I remember reading books when I was first awake, and I was reading about these guys, and they had said, well, after I had been meditating for like 17 years, this happened. And I remember thinking, wow, that's such a long time. And then it took me like 11 to get it, to get my big experience, you know. Right. But then I just said, I'm gonna reach for this energy now when I'm meditating. I'm gonna feel for it. I'm gonna try to activate it, get it back. And I kept doing that, and I got to the point where I was dry heaving, like I'm throwing up without anything coming up and out.
Wow.
Well, because there was so much energy present, like my body couldn't hold it or something. So then I'm at an Abraham workshop, and I'm able to ask Abraham what's going on. Like I got in the hot seat, and I said, what's going on with me? Why is this happening? And they said, well, you are going to do what Esther does, but you're going to have to work through this resistance that you have to it in your body.
Right,
so I was
right.
Like, I didn't even know I had resistance to it, but I kept doing it then. I sat with someone that I got into
a physical thing or a spiritual resistance? You were.
She didn't really. If she said which, or if Abraham said which, I don't remember. but it was resistance anyway to it. And I didn't think I had it, but apparently I did. So I needed to keep doing it to work through that, whatever was blocking it from all the way coming through. And I sat with my girlfriend at the time who was in London. I was in LA. So we were Skyping all the time anyway. And I would sit with her and I'd do this for like 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
I'm sure she loved that one.
Yeah. Patient. She was patient. But she was ready with her questions, and I was just receiving this energy, but not able to speak for it.
Right.
So then eventually I did speak, and the very first words I said in November of 2010 was, "We are here for you." And from that point forward, I was channeling the group that I eventually came to know as the Creators. And then I also started to, 3 years later, tap into other beings besides the Creators.
Wow. That's absolutely incredible. If you don't mind, could we briefly go through, for those who don't know, like what sort of entities you channel, where are they from, that kind of thing?
Most recent, so we already talked about the Creators, and the most recent ones that have been coming through are called Thymus, and they call themselves the Collective of Ascended Masters.
Wow.
So that started coming through like a couple months ago. And then prior to that, the Arcturian Council was coming through me all the time for daily messages. I channeled the Pleiadian High Council of 7 before them, the Archangel Gabriel, the Archangel Michael, the Hathors, Kuan Yin, a being called Ophelia the Fairy, the Creators. And then to a much lesser extent, I've channeled Yeshua, Buddha, Saint Germain, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, a bunch of the other star beings like Andromedan, Council of Light, Lyran, Syrians. I even channeled I channeled the Zetas.
Wow.
And I even channeled a group called the Quarnthians that no one has ever heard of.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I've heard of the
But they're
rest, not that
ETs.
one.
Yeah, from another galaxy, came in through a wormhole.
Wow, that's
yeah.
amazing.
So on the ladder there, the Arcturians, and then the ones you mentioned before that, the council, like who would be the higher order? Is there a chain of
There is a
command?
there is a dimensional structure to the universe where you would have the source of this universe at the very top, which may not be, I don't think it's the source. I think there's a source for this universe. And then I think that source has a source, and that source has a source. And that was kind of what Neil Donald Walsh discovered after channeling God for all those years, that God at some point said, well, I'm not the God. Like there's so in the 12th dimension are more, there's always more, and so we have our own source of this universe. And then but right below that would be 12th dimension. Archangels, ascended masters, the Creators are there. And then I've never, to my knowledge, channeled 10th or 11th dimensional beings, but then the 9th dimension I've channeled the Hathors, the Arcturians, the Pleiadians, and a lot of others. All the ascended masters and archangels I channel would be in the 12th. And then like for 5th dimensional, I'd say Ophelia the Fairy is 5th dimensional. I'm not really sure where you would place the Quarnthians or the Zetas, but they're, it's a type of hierarchy, but it's not like necessarily that the ones in the 12th dimension are better or more knowledgeable, or, it's because you can get a really pertinent piece of information from a being that is closer to where you are dimensionally, because they're more familiar with the terrain and what it's like to be human. So
can I ask you, so we all live on multiple dimensions, right? All at the same time?
It depends on what your definition of you is. So if you're talking about your soul,
so the total you, I would say, yeah.
The soul, yeah.
Yes.
I actually have another theory about that.
Awesome.
To share with you. And it's recent too. My recent theory, Natalie, you'll like this, is that everyone in their near-death experience meets their soul. They're not meeting God. They're not meeting Jesus. They're not meeting Archangel Michael. They're meeting their soul. Their soul has to appear to them as something, right?
Right.
Wow.
I
So
agree.
sometimes the soul appears in a sense,
Right.
and that we all have our own universe. And right now, our three universes are intersecting to create this co-creative experience that we can have together. And so we are the God of our universe, but we meaning the soul, not like you, the ego, not because if that were the case, then we could just right now just say, manifest this and it would appear, like we're like a dumbed down version of our soul in this body to give ourselves this more dense,
right?
limited experience. Yeah.
Right. So there's, go ahead, keep going. I'd like to hear some more of this theory.
Well, that's all I really have. I mean, other than that, all the souls coming together of this universe. So you and I may actually have the same soul. We don't know. It's possible.
Oh, right.
It's also possible that we have the same oversoul and we just don't know. And sometimes you meet a person and you feel that way and you say, that's my twin flame, that's my twin soul or something, because you feel that level of connection.
Yeah.
But eventually all the souls come together. And when we all come together, that's the God of this universe.
Wow.
This total multiverse of all of our individual universes put together, and then there's another multiverse, which includes different universes where the sky is green and the grass is purple and pigs fly instead of birds.
I've been there actually. It's interesting you bring that up. I've astral projected multiple times as a child to a planet that was like purple grass, purple sky. It was completely different, but it's like the same but different colors. So I absolutely love that. There's so many different realities, so many different planes of existence, yet when you're there, it feels normal. So it's just a matter of tuning the dial and tapping in. But I really do believe everything that you're saying. It just resonates so much that the amount of people that we've interviewed have all said that when they go home, they feel home. And it's like, imagine knowing your full self, like who you truly are. It's like, I'm home,
exactly.
Right? Yeah. So that makes so much sense.
No baggage,
I absolutely agree. I agree with you totally about you're talking to your higher self because they know you so well. I know what the experiences that I've had where I was speaking with somebody, telepathically, and it was just perfect for me. You know what I mean? It was like exactly what I would want it to be in that experience. And it just felt like they knew me so well, that. Just, but I understand why people would say, oh, I talked to God and I talked, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're going to go right to that. It's natural.
It's what you know. Yeah.
Right. You're trained to believe all that anyway.
Or what you believe. Yeah.
So, I agree with that. Go ahead, Nat. Sorry.
I wanted to sort of dive into a new area, and that's your books behind you. So did you channel those books as well? Did you get information through Arcturians and Pleiadians and things like that? What was that like?
Yeah, the two that you can see are, this is volume 1, that's volume 5, and there's 3 others obviously on Amazon, and I self-published them all, and each of the 5 books contains like 240 separate channelings that I did that took me like 10 minutes to channel, but they're all transcribed now into these. So they're kind of like, how you can have a coffee table book and you just flip open to a page and you could just read whatever's on that page and that would be enough. And so it's not a narrative in that sense, but I did break them down, the messages, into chapters, like love and service is a chapter, like connecting to ETs or something is a chapter. So the shift in consciousness is the first chapter. So I just gave it a catchy title, Ascension, the Shift to the Fifth Dimension. But there's everything is in there, like everything that you need to. And in total now with 5 books, it's 1,200 channelings.
Wow, that's remarkable.
Is it like Seth Speaks in a way?
Not really, because I would say Seth Speaks is more of a narrative in that sense that Seth knew it was going to be a book. I channeled so much, not even knowing like which ones would go in the book, which ones wouldn't go in the book, because some of the channeling I do is about like, well, this is about the upcoming month, or this is about the equinox that's coming, or the eclipse energies, or what's going on in Ukraine right now. And they're not timeless channeled messages.
Yes,
they're timely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what's like
So these are all the
universal.
timeless ones.
Right.
These are all the ones that you could pick up at any time, open the book, and it's not going to be like the current energies are, because that would be irrelevant to the person who's reading it 10 years after it's published.
Right.
I wonder if we could do that today. So at the end of the podcast, when we do a channeled message, I wonder if you could bring forth something that we are to expect, or not like reading the future or anything, but like read into the energies so that people know what's going on currently, or and maybe we could even ask the person or the beings that you're channeling, like who they are. Is that something that you're able to do? Like if I ask the question, would that prompt an answer from them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way I usually do it in these interviews, is I will channel them and they'll do their regular kind of like, here's our message for you today in this moment. And it will be, I think, more timely because someone might watch this interview 2 years from now. I mean, it may be more timeless, I should say. And then you can ask about anything at all. You could ask a current events type question or a question about anything, and they'll answer it. Yeah, that's usually how I do it.
Interesting. And so when you operate, like when you work, because you have clients that come to you, right? If they had a question like within themselves, can you channel through that person and give answers to that person based on whether it's health, whether it's look into my soul contract and things like that? Is that something that you're able to do as well?
Yes. And the caveat to that is that doing this work is getting to be less like I'm operating as a psychic. Like you go to a psychic and a psychic tells you, do this, don't do that. This person's good for you. This person's not good for you.
Right.
You deal with these channeled entities, and they're basically not here to tell us what to do or what's going to happen, which is weird because that's a large portion of what you see on the internet, because it gets more views and likes and stuff if you're channeling about the future. Right. But there is no the future. So there's multiple timelines, multiple futures.
Yeah.
So it makes way more sense for these beings to be like, here's the keys to the kingdom. Here's what you all need to do. Do these things. This is how Bashar teaches us too. Bashar's like, just follow your excitement. Just follow your excitement to the best of your ability. Don't have expectations. Your life is going to be great. Bashar's not saying you need as a big ball of light and love, and they're getting all the love. Sometimes it's Jesus if they're Christian, or even if they're raised in a Western culture that celebrates Christianity for the most part. So it's like in that movie Contact, where Jodie Foster meets the alien at the end. It's her father. It's like, well, we have to appear to you as something. We can't just,
Right.
So they chose his form. But my theory is that we're all meeting our souls there, and our soul is like our God to do this, that, and the other thing.
I noticed that they, when I did any channeling, because I did channel Archangel Michael, that most of the stuff was just like, you have to see the movie, was how he explained it. Was like, would the movie be that interesting if we told you everything that was going to happen? Would you still want to watch the rest of the movie? That's exactly how he said it. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense to me, man. Yeah. So a lot of things were really general with how he would come across, and a lot of things are up to you anyway. So if you ask him, will I be happy in the future? Well, that's on you. That's not like you can say, there's 100% chance you're going to be happy. Just give it a minute. That's you that has to do that. So they answer it in that way.
Yeah, there's probabilities, of course, and there's things that are going to happen. Like we are going to have contact with ETs. It's like, it's inevitable. It's because we one thing that we can be sure of is that we're going to continue to evolve and expand and ascend. And that's just part of that natural process. Just like you can guarantee we're going to ascend, you can guarantee that we're going home to source, that these are the things that are set in stone. Everything else, how many earthquakes, how many tsunamis, how many volcanoes, how many collapses of this or that, that's up to us to choose. And if you're focused on that, like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a time when the New Age was obsessed with food shortages.
Yeah.
So you'd go on YouTube and you'd see this person channeling about food shortages, and it's like, I better watch this and find out how many, canned goods I should go buy. It's like that also becomes the problem with what's in our, that we have so many people saying so many things. And then somebody says, yeah, but it was channeled. It was channeled. The person was channeling when they said there's going to be food shortages. I don't know about you, but I've gone to the supermarket plenty of times, and maybe the shelves don't have everything I want every time, but that doesn't seem that much different than the way it's always been. Yeah. So I've never experienced the food shortages myself. Then again, I don't buy into that stuff. Like, I don't just go, well, so-and-so saying, I mean, I believe in the people who are really, proven, like, but when Bashar says something, when Abraham says something, then I'm paying more attention. But when some random person is telling me about food shortages and they're on the internet saying they're channeling Pleiadians, I'm like, well, I don't really trust that.
Can you imagine the panic though if that did happen? I mean, where are you from, by the way? Are you from America?
I'm originally from Connecticut, and I grew up on the East Coast. I moved to the West Coast, then Maui, and now I'm in Australia.
Okay, so I'm in New Jersey. When COVID hit, it was insane that toilet paper started going out. So people were they were getting U-Hauls and going in and buying the whole store, and then so can you imagine? That's with toilet paper. Can you imagine what would happen if that did happen? What you're mentioning, the food shortage.
Well, I will tell you this, Jimmy.
I know.
There would be anarchy and chaos that we could never.
And you can create that reality. You can make that your future. Is the thing, because there's no one future. So if someone just channels something like that and doesn't say, but here's how to avoid this probable future that I'm tapping into, then they're not doing a service to anyone. They're just saying, we know what's going to happen because we have the information. It just doesn't teach anybody anything. People aren't being taught to fish. They're being taught to tune into that YouTube channel again and again to find out what's next.
Yeah. And you got to be mindful. And there's discernment as well in that game. You've really got to discern what you're listening to and does it resonate with you? And if it does, and that's obviously the reality, right, that you're creating for yourself. And I wanted to bring up to you, Jimmy, that when there was a toilet paper crisis, I didn't go to Kohl's. I went to Costco and it was full of toilet paper. So I was like, in my reality, I was having a lot of goodness come out of it. And I didn't really feel like it was part of my reality because I just thought everyone was going crazy. I thought it was kind of funny. People are talking about toilet paper and I'm like, I'm good. Just go to Costco. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, just don't. I tend not to follow.
Like that here. I was not like that here.
Right.
They were out in the streets fighting over that stuff, man. I was like,
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, some people were hoarding it, and then they'd go sell it because what was $2 is now worth $15 to somebody, so they buy a truckload.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's just
smart people. They're trying to make that's great. Like turn that situation into a good one.
I don't know how you sleep at night doing that, but I would wonder, if you mentioned the food shortage. I mean, can you imagine the chaos? Let's not talk about it. So sorry. I didn't mean to bring us down. Let's go ahead.
Well, I know I can fast for 17 days because I've done it before, so I'd be okay with less. Yeah, I don't eat that much as it is. I'm a raw fooder. I eat only vegan, organic. So you can get by on a lot less if you eat high quality food.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
There's like people in like India who don't eat, don't barely drink
They don't have any
water as
toilet
well.
paper.
Right.
A lot of them.
No, it's true.
Yeah, and
They
I've
say
also
if you actually eat right, you don't need deodorant, you don't need all that stuff.
right,
Really,
I never would have
right.
deodorant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really
You
believe
don't?
in it. It's interesting. I
You
don't
don't
believe
wear
in it.
deodorant?
No,
Really? How
It's
about
full
that?
of
Really?
like heavy metals, right? If we got into that
a lot of them
subject.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, but you don't need it at all naturally. You're naturally.
I'd say if I sweat long enough and played basketball or something, there'd be an odor.
Right.
But
I mean,
not
in general, though,
in general, I don't. I would never put it on. No, like it's not like it's not a like I object to it or anything. I just never have felt like I needed it.
right.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you eat right.
Well, that's right. When your body's full of nutrients, you're really taking care of yourself, you're drinking. And I find that, we've spoken to channelers before and my new venture as well. I find that I'm drinking a lot more. So we're hydrating, we're eating right, eating
you have
grapes,
to.
eating what's good. You're doing things in moderation in a balanced way. It's like, well, the way that you're living is so pure. And I feel like with you eating in that way, does that bring forward more information more clearly?
I just watched a Next Level Soul interview with this guy who was talking about this phenomenon, or maybe it was a woman. I can't remember because I watched so many of them. But somebody was talking about the why, like why it's important for your body to be in that right energy. There's the food has energy. The food is energy. The food has a vibration. Right. So it definitely affects you. Just like like, okay, I'm going to go sit down and meditate, but before that, I'm going to eat 2 glazed donuts and drink a cup of coffee. How do you think your meditation is going to go?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Heart palpitations, not a good idea.
Yeah, and if I ate a piece of meat right now, I wouldn't eat for days because my stomach would feel like I had a brick in it,
Right.
So
that's fantastic.
So let me ask you, when you do fast, do you drink water with that or
yes.
No? You do?
Water. And the last few fasts I've done, I've drank coconut water.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Because I need that level of hydration now where
How often
my
do you
body
do it?
feels. I've done several 3-day fasts recently, but the longest I did it when I first discovered it was 17 days.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible.
That was when I was a young man.
So let me ask you a question. So with your channeling, right, do you find that you have to be authentically you? And this is based on my experience with what's happening to me right now. I've learned that since doing this podcast and Jimmy became a co-host, right, I became more authentic in myself. I started opening up, things started changing, my consciousness started shifting. I feel like for you as a channeler, did you have to become more authentically you in order to trust the process, like trusting yourself?
It is a process. I sort of envy the trance channelers because it seems like they just get to check out and not be present for it and have no idea what they said. And therefore they just come out and go, well, I hope that was good. I'll listen back to it later. Whereas when you're conscious, which most channelers are, and you're aware of what's coming through you, there is the possibility to interfere. There is the possibility that the channeler could edit something out if it feels like it's going too far out on a limb. At times you feel like you are trying to choose just the right word, just the right wording, even though you know that you're connected up to energy. It's not like you're ever being used as a sock puppet,
Right.
and you're just along for the ride. It's a collaboration, it's a co-creation, and the person you're channeling for or people you're channeling for are also participating in it. And that's why people will say to me often, oh, it's like they're talking directly to me. It's like I ask a question in the morning and then in the afternoon I look at your channeling and it's the answer. So it's like that too. But to answer your question, I would say if you're going on the internet and reading up on conspiracy theories and then you're going to channel, what do you think is going to come through? Do you think it'll just be pure? Or do you think it'll be a little bit muddied in those waters of what you've been lowering your vibration down into to get, because you think you need to stay informed? Like people who feel like they need to stock up on this or that because I need to know what, I need to know about what the cabal is doing next or something. Whereas if you're just not focused there, it doesn't, because once you start focusing there, then you start seeing it everywhere. Then you start saying, well, is this a flag? Did this really happen? What's behind this really, and you're never really just being in the moment, paying attention to what's happening inside of you, what your thoughts and emotions are, because you're so focused on what's going on out there, as if what's going on out there and what they are doing is more important than what's going on in here. And that's where people get lost in this current climate of the new age, which is very muddied by all the things.
I was going to say, I started telling people that, like when we talked about this, whether the earth is flat or all this, it's like we'll never get to the answer anyway. So why are we
really?
Yeah, like at all this, like all of it though, when you're saying when you're like, I watch those reels on Facebook and I start to think it's like, maybe it's true. It's not, you're never going to know. We're never going to hear about it. So why are we,
Well, you will if you get in a spaceship and you go up there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, not just with that, with all the stuff on these reels, 90% of it, you're never going to get an answer. Nobody's going to be held responsible for nothing anyway, even if, but,
and if you're living in that world, you're stuck in you're stuck in the third dimensional mentality of us versus them and criminals and punishment and victims and perpetrators and things like that. That's a very third dimensional way to live, where we're really looking to see all of it as us and come together and be unified. And that means with all of our darkness too. And so if you think all of the darkness is out there and none of it's in here, then you're not really paying attention, because every time you get angry, every time you are looking down on someone, you're creating more separation within yourself. And you think it's just that you're, no, I'm here to be a warrior of light. I'm here to defeat the darkness, all that stuff. Well, that's going to keep you in that Book of Revelations type of reality.
Yeah.
Whereas it's meant to be much more of a come together and rise up like this. And you can't do that if you're denying that this is your creation, it's all in you, and that there is no them.
That's right. And I just wanted to quickly ask one more question before we dive into the channeling, because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I wanted to ask, this is a really important question. What are your thoughts on protection, right? And my 2 cents right here is that I never believed that I needed protection, because I felt like if I needed protection, then it meant I needed it, right? So my whole spiel is I trust in the energy. I'm always divinely guided, and I only ever feel from a place of love and a place of heart, right? So what is your take on, do you need protection before channeling? Because it's going around.
I would say if you feel like you need protection, you shouldn't be channeling.
Right.
Because you're focusing on something that you need to be protected from. You're afraid that it's going to jump into you if you open yourself up, and you need to deal with that belief first. First of all, everything is God. If you think anything exists outside of God, then you need to do more work and get to that knowing that nothing is happening randomly. In fact, I would say channeling is the safest thing that you can do, because if you're channeling right, you're raising your vibration, and anything that's down here has less access to you. When you're So you're hanging out, let's say, here most of the day, and then someone breaks up with you and you go down here. Well, now there's access. But if you're hanging out here, they still can't really jump up and get you until you fall down into your own personal pit of despair. But if you're here and you're going here, well, now they really don't have access to you. So when you channel, you don't want to bust out your Ouija board and your pendulum. you want to go into the bathtub and meditate or do your ritual that gets you into the highest vibration you can be. And me, it's nature. I go out, I'm in the trees, in the forest. I'm about as high as I'm ever going to get. That's where I used to do all my channeled messages early in the early days, in the forest, sitting under a tree, sitting by a stream or something. And it really does raise my vibration. And I've never felt like I needed protection.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you for sharing that, because that's really, really important to me on my journey as well. And maybe there are many who are watching this who may feel the same. And look, guys, if it doesn't resonate with you, just remember the words. If you feel you need protection, it may be that there is some shadow work that may be needing to do for yourself, going within, understanding your energy, because I really feel like everything is energy. It's how you're feeling, what you're opening up to, because what you're thinking, feeling, and acknowledging is going to create your reality. So it's just stepping into yourself, right, and understanding you first before you make that decision on whether channeling is for you. And so let's dive into some channeled messages and and see where we go.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Well, the Arcturian Council. Well, pleased. Good. With all of you. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, we're very happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to start by asking if you could explain to us and the viewers where you're from.
We originated in the Arcturian star system as physical beings, just as you are physical beings there on Earth in your solar system, and you are climbing the ladder, so to speak. You are ascending into the fifth dimension, and you will eventually ascend even further and become non-physical consciousness as we are. And so we've gone through that process already and have become non-physical. And when you're non-physical, you never really are by yourself. You always come together as a collective or a council or a cadre of some kind. You want those around you who are of the same vibration, and you gravitate towards those who have a similar agenda. So we came together as this ninth dimensional council to help Earth at this time of your ascension and help other planets and other beings in our galaxy. And we do so in the way of being received by this channeler and other channels now. And we also work with energies and give you downloads and activations and so on. And we do that with others in other star systems as well. Anyone who wants to tap into us can, and we hope that some of you who are receiving this message now will attempt to, as a result of knowing that we are available to all as non-physical consciousness.
How do we get in contact with you?
Well, you can start by paying attention to how we make you feel. And so all the tones and the sounds and the movements that you experience at the beginning are not Daniel's attempt to dial in to us. They are an expression of us through him that is meant to get you on the same wavelength as us, so that you can receive this message, this transmission, and receive all the activations that you are being given, as this is an energy transmission first and foremost. And so as you notice how you felt during that transmission, and you can go back and listen to the sounds. Yes. Then you know what we feel like. You know what our vibrational signature is like for you in your experience, and you can remember that, and you will be of our wavelength and be able to open up to us and receive us directly.
Wow, yeah, I can definitely feel that.
Yeah.
I would like to also ask, so did you choose Daniel, or was he actively seeking your communication, or was it, you know, both of you connected at the very time that it was needed?
It was that mutual, yes, coming together of us, of course, observing him, noticing that, yes, he's channeling, he's doing the work on himself to make himself ready for higher consciousness. And at the same time, he became curious about us because he had heard of Arcturians. He had heard a few people had channeled Arcturians in the past, but didn't feel like there was enough representation of the Arcturian point of view, and felt that he could be that voice. And so that prompting did, of course, come from within. It came from his guides and his higher self, and there was a connection point at which the timing was just right for him to open up to us.
Here is one question that I have, and thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate this connection. But what I really, really want to ask, and what I ask multiple channelers, is this: how can we manifest our highest and most greatest potential life? What is your take on manifestation, and how can we implement that today?
Well, it's about following your feelings. In other words, at this point in your life, you've lived enough life to know when it is you feel good and when it is you feel not so good. You know what to partake in. Right. You know how to use that discernment to determine whether you should be absorbing this information over here, or whether you should be focusing on something else, like a tree or a sunset or the birds singing. And so it's up to you to follow your feelings and avoid the pitfalls, the traps that come from thinking, well, maybe I should do this, or maybe I'm supposed to do this. And instead, as you tune in and you say, what is my gut telling me? What is my heart telling me? What makes my heart sing? What makes me light up and feel good in my body? I need to be following through with more of that and less of that which brings me into a lower vibrational state, makes me feel heavy and like I'm taking on more baggage, more than my fair share.
So in other words, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And when you're talking to someone and you say no, whereas you mean yes, that's the friction that you're talking about, and follow your true answer, your authenticity.
Even if you're talking only to yourself. So yes, if it's another person and that other person is saying, hey, do you want to go to this thing with me? And you're getting a no and you say yes because you don't want to let that person down. That's a good example. But even with your own self-talk, where you say, I really should get my laundry done today, but what you really feel like doing is just packing up the car and going to the beach. Well, when you listen to that inner voice that's telling you what's going to make your heart sing and put you in a higher vibrational state, well, then guess what? You manifest something while you're not even trying to manifest something. Maybe it's a person in your life, maybe it's more money, maybe it's an idea of how to get your laundry done faster, more efficiently, all of those types of things. But those are the things that happen when you're being led by your own intuitive hit that you're getting from within instead of that should, that super ego that you develop by listening to the rules and the experts and those who have sort of shamed you into living your life in a particular way.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
And I wanted to ask you as well, to finish off the podcast, if you could share with the audience watching today what sort of things we may need to look out for, if there is a collective consciousness message that you have for us today.
Yes, indeed. Of course, you're coming up on the end of 2023 there, and it is a good time for you to be asking yourself, well, what is it now that I have evolved into? What have I become? What am I ready for? What am I asking for? What am I truly desiring in my life? And you can use the energies of the solstice and Christmas and the new year that's coming to you to align yourself more fully with that reality that you have decided is the best reality for you to be partaking in. Because when you have these events on your calendar where there's a lot more attention being given to those dates by the collective consciousness, there is a collective asking, and there are more portals being opened up for people to receive from. So as you're more clear about what you want to be living and what you want to bring in to ring in your new year, then you're more likely to align with those things and to open up to the energies coming through those portals and to co-create with them, knowing that you have the opportunity to do that all the time, all year round. But there are these times, there are these moments, these auspicious events that make it more likely for you to have that experience of co-creation and manifestation of your desires. So as you get clear and you write things down and you say things out loud and you thank your guides in advance for helping you, then you're more in tune with that reality that you know you prefer to experience. And you can let everybody else off the hook. Let everybody else create their version of their utopian reality, but you focus on yours, and that's what you'll see more of.
Okay.
Wow.
So focus on ourselves. Don't worry about anyone else's reaction, anyone else's response. It's your life, it's your energy, and it's understanding what it is that you truly want, following your passion, following your bliss, and let life unfold for you in the way that you wish, right?
Yes, and someone who really is in alignment is going to think about other people, of course, and want to be kind, and is going to be considerate, and is going to be inspiring to others. So it's not a selfish approach to life where you're just throwing litter out your window and saying, this is what I feel like doing right now. But it's more of, you get the call from within to do something or to create something. And you know that by doing that, you're going to inspire others. You're going to be operating at a higher frequency, and therefore you're helping the collective consciousness of which you are a part.
Awesome. Thank you. Did you have any more questions at all, Jimmy?
Yeah, well, I was wondering if he had any message for Natalie and I, like on a personal level, as far as anything in our future.
Do you mean in regards into where we're headed and what we're doing with our channel and everything that's unfolding?
With her channeling, she's doing tarot and things like this, and I was just wondering if you had any advice on the future of that.
Yes, for the two of you, as you continue to do this thing that you love to do, of course, it will grow, and you're putting good energy out into the universe, and it does come back to you when you relax and receive it. And certainly, Natalie, you are growing in your skills and abilities, and putting yourself out there is the right thing for you to do, because, of course, there are more guides and healers and channels and psychics and so on needed at this time. And what we'd say to you, Jimmy, is to pay attention to how often you're feeling grounded, and make sure you're grounding in your body and touching Mother Earth every day. And to be more grounded and centered in your body is going to give you more of that awareness that you want of your vibration, and more harmony with the vibration that you ultimately want to be in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this energy exchange, and we absolutely appreciate you. Thank you again. That was incredible.
You said was so beautiful.
Wow. Very good. We're very happy to have been a part of this.
Thank you.
Yeah. We are the Arcturian Council, and we have enjoyed connecting with you.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Hi, guys. Good.
Thank you for that.
Daniel, that was beautiful, man. Beautiful.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Holy cow.
All right, guys, let's share with the audience, where they can find you if they want to get in contact with you. Where can they find you?
My website is danielscranton.com. If you sign up for my email newsletter, you get a free guided meditation from Archangel Michael and a 50% off coupon code. I'm on YouTube. My YouTube channel is also my name, Daniel Scranton, and I'm posting videos there all the time. And there's thousands of videos already on there as well. And if you want to go to Amazon and type in my name too, you can pick up any of my books. There's 7 altogether. I have another couple too where I've channeled, put a lot of messages in there from Kuan Yin and Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Michael and the rest of the ones I channel.
And so I believe you teach others how to open up themselves spiritually. You give guidance and you teach how to channel and things of that nature. Are you still currently doing this as well?
Yes, I have. Actually, I learned to channel Mega Course starting at the end of November, and it runs all the way till like July of next year, because I do 1 class a month, 2 hours, and I take people through the whole channeling process. Yeah, so if people are interested in that, they can find that on my website. It's danielscranton.com/mega.
Awesome. And we leave this podcast and we bring it to an end. And I hope that you all enjoyed today's message, and comment below what you thought about this and let us know if this resonated, and I'd love to hear from you all. But with that being said, thank you so much, Daniel.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
My pleasure.
Daniel, that was so
nice
great.
To meet you, Jimmy.
I can't
Good,
say
I'm
that
glad you liked it.
many times, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. All right. Awesome.
Take care, guys. Nice meeting you.
Bye. Yeah, nice meeting you too.
Bye-bye.